Happy International Women's Day! So a year ago today I made a video on some of my thoughts on like feminism and International Women's Day, and I got a comment on that video suggesting that it might be a good idea to do a sort of Feminism 101 type video, because in that video I mentioned like first, second, third wave feminism, which some people don't really know the difference and whatnot. So that is what I'm going to be chatting about today. I'm going to try and keep it as brief as I can, because this is, I mean, this could really be like a documentary just explaining the three, but I don't got time in my life for that. So yeah, as I mentioned in my previous video, one of the things I studied at uni was feminism, so I'm not just like getting this from Twitter or, you know, like I know what I'm talking about here, basically. So let's start at the beginning with first wave of feminism, or as it was known then, the suffrage movement. So the first wave, I mean, I can't really give you a hugely accurate date. Let's just say, generally speaking, late 1800s to early-ish 1900s. They were just campaigning for really basic stuff, like the right to education, the right to vote, the right to work outside the house, the right to own property, just basic human rights. Obviously, as we now know, I have all these rights, so they achieved their goals and all was successful. Admittedly, it took a while and a couple deaths and lots of anger and destruction of property and whatnot with the suffragettes over in England, here at least. But, you know, we got there. But yeah, that's basically all first wave was, just getting those basic rights. It should be noted, however, that most of these rights were only given to white middle class or upper class women, and everyone else would basically have to wait a bit longer. Okay, so then we have the second wave, which is again sort of generally-ish speaking 60s to 80s. There's a bit of a dispute as to the specifics on the breakdown with the different waves, but we'll keep it general and say 60s to 80s-ish. So this is the era when the contraceptive pill was invented, so women could have control over whether they wanted to have a child or not, meaning they could actually go out and work rather than having to, probably from a young age, have kids and just do the mum thing. It's also the period when women decided that they didn't just want to work in places like factories and be secretaries and stuff like that, and they actually wanted to have real careers rather than just a job. This is also when women started campaigning for paid maternity leave and help with childcare, stuff like that. And of course they started finally campaigning for equal pay, which is still a little bit of an issue today with some of the higher up paid jobs, but generally speaking we do have, at least in the UK, laws in place that say a woman has to be paid the same as a man for doing the same job. So around this time it also was the general attitude that the male gaze was very much a thing. So this is the idea that women were only just objectified and made to look all pretty and stuff for the pleasure of men, particularly in the media and magazines and telly and all those kind of things. So this attitude basically meant that women started seeing it as like a bad thing to wear makeup and dress up and whatnot, because the idea was you were only dressing so a man could look at you, which was degrading. So it was kind of seen that if you had like a full face of makeup on and you had a really nice dress on, or I don't know, you had like a mini skirt or something, like, why would you do that? All you're doing is just objectifying yourself to men. You shouldn't do that, like, you're worth more than that, like, oh, why would you do that? Because obviously now, as we segue into the third wave movement, that is not how we view things anymore. So the third wave, or post-feminism, either one, broadly speaking, applies. There's a bit of debate as to which term is more correct, but generally speaking they're more or less the same thing. So this came into play from the 90s to pretty much now. It's still going on. And this is where there was a lot more focus upon like class, race, sexuality, genders, all those things came into play. So now we have the ideology that women, we own our own bodies, we dress for ourselves, we do not dress for men. The male gaze, while still may exist, may not exist, open to discussion. The point is, like, I myself, I don't dress for my boyfriend, I don't dress for my dad, I don't dress for a brother if I had a brother. I dress for myself, I dress in what I feel comfortable in, and it makes me feel good, happy, and just generally good. However, this is also where third wave comes into a bit of a clash with second wave. Say, for example, I felt most comfortable and most myself when I'm naked. According to third wave, I should just be able to walk around naked, perfectly happy as myself, no problem whatsoever. However, someone from the second wave would be like, whoa, okay, like, that is just going too far. What do you expect if people call you a slut and blah blah blah, because, you know, you're naked, you're totally subjecting yourself to the male gaze there, men are never going to take you seriously, all those kind of things. And that kind of whole debate goes on a lot in the media nowadays. So third wave generally comes under a bit of criticism because, unlike the first and second waves, it doesn't have specific goals. Like, they're not setting out to change specific laws, it's more of a social kind of thing. So stuff like rape culture and domestic abuse, it is all social stuff, and the way people talk and the way things are portrayed, and you can't put laws into place specifically to stop that. The only way you can discourage these type of things is through social action and talking and just getting people to, I don't know, understand, and the ideologies all behind it. Which is why with the third wave you get a lot of campaigns like I don't know, like the Me Too campaign going around right now, the Time's Up campaign going around right now, and just generally so many other campaigns trying to just raise awareness, I guess, for all these different social issues. So like I said before, third wave is also the first time feminism is sort of not just focused specifically on white, middle, upper class women, but it is basically tried to help all genders, all classes, all races, and broadened out so much more. This is obviously a good thing because it makes it so much more inclusive rather than exclusive, which generally is the point of feminism. So I feel like I've spoken for long enough. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being. However, I have tried to keep it as simple and basic as I possibly could. There are 1,000,001 things that I have just entirely missed out to try and keep this short. But yeah, any like questions or discussions, I very much welcome in the comments. Once again, I wish everyone the most wonderful International Women's Day. Go celebrate all the women in your life and just have a lovely day.